Wow, 50 states. This could go on for quite some time. All right, Joe, let's switch gears a little bit now. You had mentioned Attorney General Pam Bondi. Something else that she's up to, she has called for a grand jury probe over the Obama administration's investigation, that one related to the 2016 election, Russian interference potential. So what is this all about?
Yeah, let's backtrack a little bit and remind you this comes from Tulsi Gabbard. In many ways, the former Democrat, now turned Trump administration official, director of national intelligence. Remember a few weeks back, she held a press conference, basically suggested that officials within the Obama administration, former President Obama himself, may have manipulated intelligence to suggest that Russia was more involved, or at least publicly say Russia was more involved in the election of Donald Trump than was the case. You're talking about going back now close to 10 years. We're talking the 2016 election here. At the time, Tulsi Gabbard said this was treasonous behavior, recommended action by the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice conducted a strike force, a task force to look into this, and now it appears to be the next layer of this, in which the Department of Justice is beginning a grand jury to look into these claims levied by the Director of National Intelligence even further. We should be very clear here. Former President Barack Obama, he rarely responds to accusations coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but he was quick to put out a statement a few weeks back denying any such wrongdoing here. Called it a distraction at the time. At the time, the Epstein files was really front and center. It's still a story in D.C., but it was really front and center. There are questions, though, about what this will mean. Some Democrats, where I'm at in Washington, are openly saying this is just merely revenge for what the Trump political orbit was put through over the course of the last several years. Now the Obama political orbit may be put through something similar, in which you have former Obama officials dragged to a courthouse for grand jury testimony, having to hire lawyers, go through that process. You may be wondering, what about former President Barack Obama? This is where it gets kind of interesting. Remember that Supreme Court presidential immunity case that really shielded President Trump from prosecutions and got rid of a lot of the cases? Well, that same precedent from the Supreme Court would be applicable to former President Obama here. So he would be shielded and protected given for that Supreme Court opinion and from immunity, presidential immunity during that time. His aides, though, would not necessarily experience those same protections, and they would be the ones likely called for what could be a very lengthy grand jury ordeal. So we'll watch this as we watch all stories out of Washington. President Trump has posted on social media about this, and I'm just quoting now, "The truth always wins out." This is great news. So the president pleased with the actions from the Department of Justice.
And Joe, just to be clear, though, there has never been any claim that, even way back when, that there was Russian interference. It was more about the fact that, relating to WikiLeaks, and I know it gets so sticky, but the fact that they had hacked into some emails, and there may have been some misinformation, but they never really tampered with voting machines or anything like that, and they never claimed that. So I guess it's a little confusing. Where's the there?
It's the and to be clear, I mean, reports and statements from President Trump during his first term, Secretary of State Marco Rubio when he was chairman in the United States Senate, I mean, they all said that Russia played a role in attempting to influence the 2016 election. Influence was the process of being on social media feeds and, again, political, orbits, and to that no evidence ever, and we should always be abundantly clear here, no evidence that would suggest that Russia played a significant role in doing anything to change votes. So, again, a storyline we'll be watching here. I wouldn't be surprised if this grand jury process plays out over a significant amount of time, keeping this in the news. I think this just shows you just how influential President Trump is, right? Traditionally, Director of National Intelligence, Department of Justice might be at arm's length removed politically from a lot of this. They are way more involved in that orbit this go around than in any presidential time in modern history.
Scripps News Deputy Political Director Joe St. George for us. Thank you for that great explanation. Appreciate it.